black unicorns and angry black men. And you and I indeed are unicorns. You don't find too many black male therapists, not only in this space, but you don't really see them in the broader society, especially when you look at academia. I
Mm,
would argue, Jeff, that at the higher level, it's mostly white women, then black women, white men, maybe Latin men, and then or Asian men, and then black men. We're like probably about 1 or 2%. What's been some of your experiences being a black male therapist? Some of the microaggressions you've experienced, and what's been some of your struggles to conveying the necessities of men being in therapy?
yeah. Funny enough, one of the things, because I was a part of the cultural considerations team that actually made some adaptations to the prolonged exposure model, which is an evidence based approach. And
Right,
the whole time when we were talking about recognizing diversity, recognizing cultural things that we need to factor in, we were factoring in race, we were factoring in where people were from, we were factoring in all disabilities, we were factoring in so many different things.
right,
And I just had noticed for the last 5 years or so that of all the things that we try to factor in from a cultural perspective, the one that seems to never be brought up is just the idea of being boys or men,
hmm
and whether or not we need to do cultural adaptations that's specific for that group. And it seems like by default, for whatever reason in the workplace, there seems to be a really, really interesting habit amongst clinicians, psychologists, psychiatrists, etc., where if we're going to skew towards anything, it tends to skew heavily towards the feminine, and towards women's conversational styles, their patterns, their approaches to feeling better therapeutically. It was always typically skewed with what women in general want, as both as far as being the client or the patient, as well as the clinician as well. So yeah, so I started to notice it very, very early on, and over time, I started to realize that anytime men, as the client was coming in, if they were starting to notice these things or bringing these things up, they weren't really, they were kind of shut down or not really
right,
acknowledged or validated.
right,
But then on the flip side, if you worked in these spaces as an educator, as a clinician, if you worked in spaces where you pointed out things that you're noticing on the female population side, or even amongst your coworkers, it seemed to be much more of a visceral negative reaction to kind of prevent you from being able to scrutinize and hold women and females to the same standard that you hold males or boys or men.
right. And I think that, Jeff, a lot of that is tied into a concept that I created. Well, one, it's a schema affliction, but also
Hmm.
I think it's something called paranoid persecution. You know, my background when I was at UNC Chapel Hill, I got certified in cognitive behavior therapy, and I got the first phase of the Gottman method in Punta Cana. I got my first cert in the Gottman method in Punta Cana more recently back in December. And what you say really harkens to the reality of what I call the minimization of masculinity.
Mm,
At the training that I was at, one of the things that was key, one of the things that was evident in that conversation was the fact that the instructor that actually admitted that I was correct. Everything that was more or less assigned to male issues was more or less truncated as being bad, toxic, ignorant. And he
yep.
said, yeah, because I said, I noticed, the husband was the bad guy. You made the husband seem like he was bad. He was the enemy. He was the problem. And what you see a lot of times now, I don't know if you saw it in therapy a lot of times, men and women, Jeff, they don't send men to therapy or their husbands to therapy because there's really an issue with them, but it's really confirmation bias. So they'll
Mm,
send them to the therapist to confirm whatever pathological issues that they have assigned towards the husband
yep.
to make the husband be the bad guy. And so many people, in my opinion, and I'm sure you will agree, are trained under the umbrella of wokeness and also Marxism.
Mm,
And because of that, it's created this current zeitgeist or what we call the spirit of this current age,
hmm.
where anything masculine is bad,
Yep.
anything feminine is good. And Jeff, I believe succinctly that it's not just something that's sociological. I think it goes even deeper into esoteric. I think it's also spiritual, and we'll talk about that at some point as we continue to speak. But what's been some of your challenges circumnavigating this toxic maze called toxic femininity, or more or less this feminist agenda that seeks to usurp or minimize male suffering, but
Mm.
also, in my opinion, the sovereignty of masculinity? What's been some of your struggles that you've seen?
Professionally, what I've seen is a noticeable continued decline and lack of male participation in therapy.
Hmm.
What I've noticed is the men, not all, but many men who go to therapy, they can only do it very, very short term,
Yes.
or they upon one or two sessions they're done. Like they just
Yes.
cannot. They
Right.
realize this isn't it. This isn't what I'm looking for. This isn't going to help me.
Hmm.
And what I was noticing was the conclusions that the clinicians who are used to what you're talking about in terms of the style and approach to how to offer therapy,
Hmm.
their conclusions was always putting the onus on the blame on, well, men
Right.
just don't like to open up. Men don't like to do
Right.
this. Men don't like
Yes, sir.
therapy.
Right.
They never turn the microscope or the magnifying glass back on themselves
Hmm.
to explore the possibility that it's them, it's their packaging, or it's the field itself that isn't balanced, isn't actually highlighting the needs of men. It's actually highlighting often who's the initiator of
Right.
a lot of these therapeutic interventions, which usually, oftentimes, if it involves a couple, happens
Hmm.
to be the woman.
Hmm.
So it puts therapists in a very interesting choice dilemma. Um,
I agree.
if the party who tends to be the woman is the one who's initiating the therapy, right? And the guy kind of is half in, half out, not really sure if this is going to work or if he wants it, the
Right.
therapist is going to get paid listening to one of these people,
Right.
right? So the therapist seeking to focus and validate more of the needs and concerns of the party who's not really wanting therapy could end up resulting in the person who wanted the therapy in the first place feeling like they're not listening to me. We
Hmm.
came in to fix him. And a
Right.
lot of therapists who aren't really aware of what I'm kind of bringing up and discussing, if the untrained, unskilled, unexperienced therapist will end up picking a side instead of maintaining objectivity and balance. And
Yes.
with the end result being that a lot of men feel like if all that's going to happen is I'm going to feel the same thing I'm experiencing at home, and now I'm going to get double teamed in an office, in a counselor's office, why would I even put myself through this? So
I totally agree.
yeah,
I,
so
I, I
I've
totally agree.
definitely noticed that, man. And then number two, even in workplaces, just in general, it seems more often than not that a lot of men are feeling stifled. They feel like they can't actually be themselves. They
Hmm.
can't even point out issues, that double standards of things that they're noticing in the workplace.
Right.
It's not unusual for women to make comments about hair, nails, clothes,
Hmm.
different articles of clothing that people have. Working around a lot of women, I see sometimes how they interact with each other in terms of raising their voice, getting an attitude,
Right.
getting snippy with their superiors.
Hmm.
These are things that, unfortunately, I don't say unfortunately, just in general, many of the things that are allowed or given grace for, it's seen and pathologized when a man does or says the same exact thing.
I
Um,
totally agree. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
so those are some of the anecdotal things that I've kind of observed, and most men, a lot of men seem to confirm it as well.